Our third respondent is the Reverend Dr. Sally Haynes. Dr. Haynes is the senior pastor of First United Methodist Church of Blue Springs, Missouri. She was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and graduated from Davidson College with a Bachelor of Arts in Religion in 1984. She enrolled at St. Paul's School of Theology the same year, and I read that, I had to verify it tonight, it's true, the same year. She finished her undergrad, she came right to seminary, and she graduated with a Master of Divinity in 1987. Dr. Haynes returned to St. Paul's School of Theology for a Doctor of Ministry degree, which she completed in 2003, and as I recall, she completed it with distinction. She has served as an ordained elder in the United Methodist Churches in Missouri, primarily in the Kansas City area. In addition to her local church ministries, Dr. Haynes has served extensively as the member of the Board of Ordained Ministry, Chair of the Order of Elder for Missouri, and has been a delegate to general and jurisdictional conferences. Dr. Haynes and her spouse Andy have 3 children, the youngest of which just graduated from the University of Missouri and is considering attending seminary herself. Dr. Haynes recently wrote, quote, "Dr. Chun was one of my favorite professors during my Master of Divinity and Doctor of Ministry studies. I appreciate deeply his theological depth and rigor." Welcome, Dr. Haynes.
Well, thank you, Dr. Chun, for the invitation to be here and speak at this. What an honor. And yes, Dan, I am the other designated graduate, and I am the old graduate. If you look in your program, that picture on the very back, that was my classmate, Lee Johnson. I'm not in there myself, but Helena, I knew your dad when he had more hair. And I think that that's important because I want to place myself in St. Paul's timetable. I started in 1984, Dr. Chun started in 1983, so we were both the new kids on the block. My classmates thought that I was very foolish when it was time for my credo, which is what we did back then, the culminating writing work, that I requested first for Dr. Chun to be on my credo committee. My classmates all thought that I was foolish because he was known for his academic rigor, and frankly, all the students were scared to death of you. But I wanted you on my committee because I wanted that type of rigor. I wanted to be challenged, and I wanted to write for someone who would demand that of me. That was part of why I loved getting to study under him when I was back at St. Paul for my D-Min. You see, part of what I loved about Dr. Chun was that he speaks a different language. Now, I'm not talking about Korean and all the other languages. Those are hard enough. But as you've heard already, Dr. Chun speaks theology and speaks it so well. Reading theology can make my eyes cross, and perhaps for many of you too. And that's part of why I loved getting to hear him speak theology, as you experienced tonight. Because he takes something that cannot be described with mere words, the understanding of God and what in the world the immortal God would have to do with mortal humanity. And he talks about it in a way that we can understand. We experienced that. I remember once I was in a classroom in a lecture, and he was speaking with the enthusiasm that you described, and he was writing on the board, and we were all getting lost. We got lost like in the first column, and he was several chalkboards down the road. And he turned and he looked at us, and he said, "Inscrutable, isn't it?" And then he turned around and he kept writing. I still remember that. But the thing about Dr. Chun is you take the inscrutable and you make it scrutable. He knows a lot of languages, and I don't even know English all that well, apparently, but he helps us understand that which is so hard. He brought an intellectual rigor and expectation that transformed the students with whom he worked, one of whom was me. He taught us many powerful lessons. tonight, you heard him speak to us about Christian identity. And again, he did it so beautifully using the language of theology. I'll tell you that when he started talking about Christian identity, I actually got a little bit worried because there is a neo-Nazi movement that is Christian identity. But do you hear what he did? Because he taught us that the language of theology is a language of dialogue, and he did that in his talk, and he dialogued with many different theologians. And then he took that term, Christian identity, and transformed it into something of power, so that all of us, as we go back to the local churches or seminaries or wherever we're going back, we have a new call to deepen our Christian identity. Because the language of theology is a powerful language. To describe him simply as an outstanding theologian it is not full. And I simply want to add one more thing, and others will probably speak to that. He has done so much with the Korean students in this area, bringing people to St. Paul's School of Theology. I have benefited from it directly. Chun has been my associate pastor at Blue Springs for the last 5 years, and so my church has got to benefit directly from Dr. Chun's leadership and Chun Ho's leadership, and I'm so blessed. We are blessed by that. But the way he speaks his language with grace, the language of theology, truly has transformed us. And so, in this theme of language, I just want to do one more thing. I've been practicing all afternoon. My apologies in advance if I accidentally say curse words in Korean. Please blame me, do not blame Chun Ho, because he really worked with me hard. So let me give this my best try. Kamsaham Nida, Chun Young Ho Baksanin, Tong Shin Yesonun, Chohinga, Shinhak Iwi, An Oro, Malhasud, Ito Rok, Garcho, Chusho Song Nida. What I tried to say, what I hope I said, is thank you, Dr. Chun. You taught us to speak the language of theology.